I found the best PC VR headset for me. I mean, the best. With 4K per eye, the visuals are so crisp and lifelike that for the first time in years, I was actually stunned by what I saw in VR. And all of that in the tiniest form factor of just 179 grams. But, and it's a big but, there is something about this headset that could drive some people crazy. So what is it? A game changer or a deal breaker? You're about to find out. This is MeganeX, a brand new and very light VR headset from Shiftall. It features 4K per eye resolution and 10-bit HDR micro OLED display and pancake lenses by Panasonic, which is a hell of a combination. I've tried it before when I was invited to the exclusive testing on site, but now I could finally stress test it in my own studio. But first, let's step a bit back. Before MeganeX, the best headset visually for me for playing VR games was Pimax Crystal Lite. But it's a very big and bulky headset that might not be comfortable to wear for long periods. MeganeX has a very nicely designed form factor, making it very small. It also has a lot of ways to adjust the position of the headset on your face, which is really unique for a headset like that. You can bring it closer or further away from your eyes, similar to PlayStation VR headsets. You can also fine-tune its angle using this knob, and it even has a flip-up design. So together, this 4K resolution per eye delivers around 27 million pixels, which is a shocking number. Great work, Panasonic. High-quality games in this headset, such as Kayak VR Mirage, feel almost photorealistic. My jaw literally dropped. I've been in the VR field for a long time, but it is really hard to describe. I've never really experienced anything quite like this before, because it's kind of like you forget that you're looking at the VR world through this screen, and you kind of feel like you're looking at actual things. I have really never felt as immersed in VR as I did in this headset, and it was even more immersive when I tried it here at home than during the demo, because now they made the display even brighter than before, like really bright and vivid colors. Wow. Honestly, you can just sit there and stare at the rocks in Kayak Mirage forever. And this futuristic gloves in Half-Life Alyx, I was staring at all the microchips, only now realizing just how much detail is in those 3D models of the gloves that I've never even noticed before. Now I could see every tiny little thing without noticing a single pixel, and I was also comfortable while doing so, which was a new thing to me. Yes, Pimax Crystal Lite was my favorite headset because of its quality and field of view, but MeganeX Super Lite is simply better, and it's also so much more comfortable, but also so much more expensive. But still, back to the resolution, the closest competitor would actually be Apple Vision Pro, though it's not a gaming headset. It was the leader in display quality until now. Of course, Apple Vision Pro costs $3,500, while MeganeX, being a gaming headset, costs less. It's $1,899 US, but that includes taxes and VAT, so you don't need to pay anything extra for the headset itself. However, you do need to get base stations and controllers, and that's pretty much one of the things that increases the cost of these headsets. But honestly, MeganeX is for VR enthusiasts, really hardcore gamers who want uncompromised quality and who are ready to pay for it. I assume that if it's you, then you probably already have your own base stations and index controllers or Vive controllers. But basically, yeah, that adds to an already a really high cost of the headset. Still, this tiny little headset is just a work of art because there's so many cool little features that you probably wouldn't expect to see in such a small and lightweight headset. This one has an adjustable diopter, meaning that you don't need prescription lenses or glasses. You can adjust for myopia without any additional lenses. It also allows IPD adjustment. I always thought that custom-built IPD and facial interface in Big Screen Beyond was kind of a nuisance because it kills the resale value of a headset and it makes it impossible to share it with friends. MeganeX has a built-in motorized IPD adjustment, which you can set using the app. You simply select your IPD, which you can measure using a mobile app, and then just set the value and it will adjust automatically. It's really, really cool and easy. Two of the most important things for comfort and health, IPD adjustment and diopter adjustment, are both built into this super tiny form factor. Honestly, there are so many good things that I can say about the visual quality of this headset that, yeah, it could take me a really long time. Its resolution is absolutely insane, and you can even control brightness and contrast within the app, which is awesome. awesome. Visually speaking, this is probably the best headset in terms of resolution, but whether it makes the best headset overall depends on a couple of things. Some aspects of it should be improved, and some even may be a deal breaker for certain people. The first thing that you will notice as soon as you put on this headset, other than the resolution and amazing quality, is actually the field of view. I've mentioned this before in my previous review, but the field of view of this headset is pretty standard. It is not exceptionally large. If anything, I'd say that it is not large at all, because you can vividly see the edges of your field of view. And the first time that you put it on, you will notice this slight tunnel vision effect. It is not terrible. It's definitely bigger than some other headsets like Quest 2 or Vario, but if you're coming from Pimax Crystal or even Quest 3, you will notice the difference. I would say that even Quest 3 has a somewhat larger horizontal field of view. But there's a very important thing to note about this. Quest 3, for example, achieved this by increasing the binocular overlap, and you might notice this too. When you put on a headset like Quest, it has an oval-shaped field of view, and that is because there is a small lens overlap or binocular overlap. It means that there's a bigger difference between what your left eye and your right eye can see. If your right and left eye sees things very differently, that means that your brain will take longer to process this information, and sometimes it can even cause some headaches. You can even try it yourself right now. Close your right eye and your left eye, and you will see that your image is slightly different. That's what creates this depth perception and this 3D effect in virtual reality. But MeganeX's binocular overlap is bigger. It means that these images are more similar to one another, and it makes the image more sharp and easier to process, but that comes at the cost of field of view. Whether that's a good or a bad thing depends on your personal preference, but in general, headsets that make that overlap smaller can gain extra centimeters or millimeters of field of view, but at the expense of maybe a less sharp image. So this field of view is extended artificially, and it's not really creating as smooth of an image as something with a really big overlap like MeganeX. So it's very comfortable to look at the image in MeganeX, but you will notice the lower field of view. Now, this next thing is also something really important, the visual quality, and it is that these lenses have a slight warpiness on the edges of the lenses. And I'm not talking about a fisheye effect or a small sweet spot. The sweet spot is actually very clear and very easy to achieve, especially compared to PS4 2 or to Big Screen Beyond, but the clarity is not 100% edge to edge. So when you look in one direction and you shift your eyes to the edge right before the image disappears at the periphery, you will see that it becomes a little bit blurry and a little bit warped. And this effect is presented all around the edges of the field of view. It is not exactly fisheye effect, but because the blurriness stays in place when you move your head, it creates a slight sensation that the whole image is warped. If you move your head really quickly, those blurry edges move as well, and that creates an illusion similar to a fisheye effect. This is not something all headsets have. I did not notice these things with Quest 3, with Pimax, or Apple Vision Pro. It seems to be specific to MeganeX, and other people who tested this product also see it. It's something about the combination of its lenses and display. Just like with the field of view, this warpiness is something that you can get used to the more you play with it. But because I test headsets daily as part of my job, I notice these things very quickly, and these subtle differences is what makes this headset stand out. Different people perceive these differences in, different ways. So for some, it's not a big deal, but for others, this actually could be a very noticeable and intrusive feature that may cause some certain discomfort. And it's really tricky because you don't really know that it looks like this before you receive the headset, and after that, it's actually already too late. And for the price of these headsets, and considering that you can't really return it, yeah, it's a bit of a risk. But it is something that you can get used to, and maybe it won't even be a big deal for you, but you just won't know until you see it. Honestly, that was the major thing that I was concerned about with this headset, and it's much smaller thing than, with most of the headsets that I've reviewed in the past. Some other things that are worth mentioning are the small cable connector at the top of the headset to redirect the wire to the side instead of the front. If you're not using it, then the cable is just going to sort of awkwardly fall in the front, so you definitely need to use that little attachment attachment to make it fall graciously to the side of your shoulder. Now let's talk about the flip-up design. I thought it was really nice because you can quickly lift the headset to look around if someone enters your room or if you need to check something. Once flipped up, it stays in place. The only inconvenience is that you need both hands to do it, one to press the button and the other to lift the headset. You can't do it with just one hand, and it's a small drawback, but it requires you to put down both controllers if you want the headset to stay flipped up rather than just glancing around briefly. So the quality of MeganeX is super impressive. You can play at 90 Hz, 4K, it doesn't revert to 2.5K or to HD per eye like Big Screen Beyond. You can maintain that high performance. Of course, granted, I was testing it on RTX 4090, but their website states that the minimum PC requirement for GPU is RTX 3070 or higher. You can check other requirements there as well. For example, one other limitation is that AMD graphics cards are not supported, only NVIDIA, but that is not uncommon. AMD graphics cards are usually not very VR friendly. So if you're a hardcore VR gamer, you probably have NVIDIA already. So the setup worked for me and I managed to play very high demanding games at amazing quality of performance. Now I saved the biggest topic for me for last, setup. And of course it's an important one because you need to know how easy it is to get started. How easy is it to set up, what's required, and are there any bugs, and how much hassle does it take? If you watched my channel for a while, you already know that bugs find me. No matter how smooth the setup process is for others, I always manage to uncover some weird, frustrating issues that make everything way harder than it should be. Pimax. And not surprisingly, MeganeX was no exception. Out of all the units that they shipped, I think I had the strangest and most unpredictable connection issues. But I did manage to make it work, so if you already bought this headset or are considering it, just know that any setup issues are solvable. It's very unlikely that you got a faulty unit. So here's a couple of troubleshooting steps and a few things that you might need to do to help you, and hopefully they'll be added to the manual at some point. First, if you've got multiple monitors, disconnect them. I had 3 and I had to unplug 2, leaving just one monitor connected to the display port with the headset using the other. And make sure that that display port is connected to your graphics card and not your motherboard. Second, you need to update your graphics card drivers. I know, you're such a big gamer, your games are running fine, so you think you don't need to, but trust me, you do. I thought the same. I assumed my drivers were up to date, or at least new enough because all of my other games and headsets were working. But psych, I ran into real problems getting this headset to connect, and the moment I updated my GPU drivers, everything started working, so yeah. Do it. Lastly, you need to make sure that you have your add-ons enabled on SteamVR. So make sure that in SteamVR under add-ons you have MeganeX not blocked, because sometimes for some reason SteamVR may block certain add-ons, and that included MeganeX. If that happens, just unblock it, make sure that it's all working and enabled. Right now, MeganeX stands as an exceptionally well-made, well-designed headset with insanely high resolution and quality of visuals. It brings you incredible graphical performance as long as you can tolerate the somewhat average field of view and minor blurriness and warping at the edges. It's still a very expensive headset for what it is, far beyond what an average consumer would spend, especially if they're unsure about VR. This is clearly targeting a niche group of hardcore VR gamers who are willing to pay top dollar for the best possible visual quality. If you are a dedicated VR gamer who can afford it, by all means, get it. As long as you already have your base stations and controllers, your setup is ready to go. And if you're looking to upgrade for the best performance possible, MeganeX Super Light 8K is the best visual quality you will ever see in VR, or at least the best that consumer VR can afford right now. But hey, it's still very early into 2025, so something exciting might still come out this year too. Even with a small field of view and slight warpiness, this is going to be my daily driver for PC VR gaming. It's just so light and so comfy, and yeah, it has a cable, but I will gladly take the cable if it means getting the best uncompressed quality that is super comfortable too. So yeah, I'm all in.